Make it happen then. Let's do some podcast magic. Welcome back to Countdown to Destruction. This is episode 3 of our podcast, taking a look back at The Leftovers. My name is Matt Waters. I am viewing every single one of these episodes for the very first time, but you know who is not doing that? Probably viewing them all for like the third, fourth, possibly even fifth time. Ben Phillips, how are you? It continues to be sweltering hot when we record these episodes. It's bad time.
I'm good. It is hot. It's less hot than it has been previously. I didn't have to take my sunglasses to work today.
Sure.
Also, do we have to put a little disclaimer in that you watched the first 5 minutes of episode 9 mistakenly today?
Look. I had to do a lot of houseworky type stuff. I grabbed the disc and I was like, oh, look at the title of that one. That sounds interesting. And then I guess I subconsciously wanted to watch that, so I grabbed that disc instead of the right one. I watched 5 minutes of episode 9 without realising.
I mean, it's a good thing that it was like you chose the episode that doesn't start with like monumental spoilers for the episode.
Yeah, I didn't really learn much, so I'm bad at this. I'm bad at my one job, which is to just watch and shut the fuck up and don't research anything. Oh, well. Anyway, you warned me last time that there was going to be something that you just sort of warned me of a scene that might be a little bit and I couldn't for the life of me solve this puzzle, because I was like, is it going to be some like really gross like bodily thing? Like, I'm very grossed out by poop based stuff, so I was like, oh god. But
I mean, there is a poop based thing in the episode.
Sure, but not anyway. So this is Gladys, aired July 27th, 2014, directed by Mimi Leder.
First episode by Mimi Leder.
There you go.
She goes on to be the main director for the series.
Okay. She does a good job. Written by Damon Lindelof and Tom Perrotta. Ya boys, creators of the show, author of the book. So it's called Gladys because in the first, probably a minute, Gladys of the GR, she is basically, I get the impression she's the most senior person other than Patty. Like, she's the eldest of the ones we see other than Patty, I think, and she's the one that Matt sees in his like little dream sequence greeting him at the front of the church. Anyway, she is abducted by a group of people who have covered their faces, tied to a tree and stoned to death. So the GR, when we last left them, in my head stole Christmas, in fact stole everyone's pictures of The Departed. So we don't like them. I've made it very clear I don't like them so far in 2 episodes. And we start this in the same way we've been treating them so far. Like, they're immediately called cunts by a complete random stranger. So you're like, oh, those poor people. Then a man falls down and they literally step over him and give no mind whatsoever. You're like, oh yeah, you pricks. And then one of the most extreme, like, torture murder things I've ever seen committed to television, and it's like, even though I hate these people, this is pretty tough to look at. And I mean, you know, fake rocks and all that, but just it looks so real and it's really fucking gross. And in her dying moments she of course speaks and is like, please stop, and it makes it all the worse. There's just pools of blood. It's super fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's one of the things that I remember the most about Leftovers season 1 from my rewatch. Is just like
just a fucking execution. Like, my god.
And it's made so much worse because it's not one of those Game of Thrones things where it's like it's heightened until you expect it. It's very much like this is what would happen if someone got stoned to death.
Yeah, and this is the second episode in a row where we've seen. Sorry, not in a row, but you know, we've now seen them have rocks thrown at them a lot, and I don't know if there's some greater significance to that, but we've seen them violently attacked with rocks in 2 episodes now. And when it first started, I assumed they were just trying to scare her into talking, but then it goes so much further than that. And when she actually does talk, it doesn't help her. And it's like, oh, we're just doing this. Okay, I guess. Like, it's just super, super fucked up. Even with the character you're so unsympathetic toward. Very violent stuff.
Yeah,
welcome
like,
to HBO.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see someone, like, no matter what happens, like being stoned to death, because it's not a easy death.
No. You said it reminded you of Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones, where, you know, they put in their fucking work to make him the least likeable character in that show full of very unlikable characters. And I thought he got what he deserved, but a lot of people were like, that was pretty brutal as a way to go. She's not as unlikable, and it's a way more extreme death, so...
Yeah. And it's one of those things, because obviously they don't have many options for the GR. I sort of recognise people, because obviously Martin and Hugo has been hanging around the edges of this series so far. Like, it was very weird for me, because obviously, like, coming into this, the only thing I recognised her from was 30 Rock, where she played Kathy Geiss, who is the mute baby head of the company. But it's just this very tonally different, very dramatic performance.
She's the fourth one. Like, we know Patty, we know Laurie, we know Meg, and then she's the glasses lady, who I learned from this episode is called Gladys.
Yes, you'll never forget that name.
I don't know, I probably will not. To sort of undercut the mood, when the GR find her, Dean shows up. You remember Dean, our good local neighbourhood dog murderer. Not Kevin, not the main character, not the protagonist of the show, sorry. A stranger who keeps showing up. Yeah, he just sort of wanders through their path and shoots a dog, and it's just like, oh. And just as I'd been feeling this sympathy for the GR, them not batting an eyelid as he did this, I was like, no, confirmed, forever evil. Damon Lindelof just likes to be a bit weird sometimes, doesn't he? Just to completely offset that really dark opening with that. It's weird to call it funny because it's more animal murder, but it's just very not in fitting with what was happening.
Oh yeah, it was just like I said to you on text, like I genuinely laughed when Dean showed up and just took out two dogs.
And you said I was a bad person. Kevin, being a policeman, opens an investigation about all this. The police are bickering about it. He's unable to get a curfew into effect despite his best efforts. And one of his detectives contacts ATFEC because the C in ATFEC is cults, and because it was a murder of someone in a cult, he feels they should be alerted. And despite Kevin's attempts to cancel it, they seize the corpse. And when he manages to speak to one of their agents on the phone, this is like at the end of the episode, so we're jumping around here. This agent, whilst initially being all just sort of like very reasonable and just sort of like, oh, you know how it is, bro, just casually offers to have a group of armed agents come and murder the GR.
Yeah, like you see it a couple of times throughout the series where there's the obviously there's the raid on Holy Wayne's.
Yeah. And I noted with that like when they were doing that raid, they were shooting people who weren't any danger.
Yeah, like they just went all in. And then there was the scene where I think it was in this episode where Kevin turns the TV off in the middle of like reporting on a cult. Yeah. And attacking a cult there, and like obviously it's implied that ATFEC is just they don't give a fuck.
They're just gung ho. They're just fucking cowboying up and just going and shooting whoever's. Just the sinister turn of it, like having him go from like, oh, you know how it is, I'm down in Florida, and like not knowing which cult it is because there's so many. Are they called like Tomorrow's Children? One of the ones he says.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah, and then just that turn of, hey man, just say the word, we'll come kill them all. And he calls them like an infestation. It's like, jeez.
Yeah. We can either do this by the book in 4 to 6 weeks, or I can have a SWAT team there by the end of the week.
Exactly, yeah. Sort of the culmination of that is we see at the end that Gladys's body is just like immediately burnt. And the implication is they didn't do any kind of testing. They just immediately cremated her. I don't know if they did do some stuff before they did that, but yeah, it certainly doesn't seem to be anything like what they were implying throughout.
Yeah, like it looks like it's a group of people that kind of they take photos and they do the bare minimum that they have to do for kind of like doing this stuff, but then they don't give a fuck. These people are different.
I assume we're going to be running into ATFEC some more based on their reoccurrence and stuff, so we'll see how that goes. I like this sort of continued, everyone in this local PD are a bit shit. I doubt it's a direct nod, but it just sort of reminded me of Twin Peaks, where you have one competent person, kind of, in Kevin, I assume he's competent, just surrounded by morons who are, like, stepping over evidence and failing to do their jobs, and, like, again, this thing of, like, an attempt at violence that just goes realistically wrong as Kevin tries to beat up his detective that, like, rats on him. Following on from his adopted son failing to beat up that Winnie the Pooh man.
Do you think he was in the right to do what he did?
I mean, technically, I guess. It's just...
We obviously side with Kevin in this situation.
Yeah, you feel he should run it by Kevin, but, I mean, if this falls under ATFEC's jurisdiction, I guess, sure. Dean turns on him, because he's questioned as a witness, and he's all, like, being a little bit difficult, and then at this sort of town hall meeting that is called impromptuly, where he has to justify this curfew and get a vote on it. Everyone is obviously not happy, and Dean fully goes in on him and is like, oh, this is punishing us, not you're not protecting us, you're protecting the GR and stuff. And Kevin is willing to fight this man. So yeah, Dean,
you
Dean
get
continues to be a mystery.
Yeah, you get multiple weird things, because obviously there's the moment earlier in the episode where he goes, "You keep blowing me off," which implies that he keeps on reaching out to Kevin, or they keep organising something, and Kevin never goes.
He doesn't want to kill more dogs.
He doesn't want to kill more dogs.
You kill a bunch of dogs, and it's okay, I've been there, done that. What next? He needs his new high. He needs to take down elephants or something.
Yeah, but then there's the other bit, which is Kevin asks him why do you care? And then he's just well, I live here. And Kevin's like,
do you?
You don't live here.
Yeah, he is a very mysterious stranger, to the point that for a while they were keeping up this concept that maybe he's not real.
I like because obviously I think this aired around the same time as spoilers for Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot was airing around a similar time as this, and obviously people guessed the main twist of that show, but Leftovers kind of wisely, they don't play out for a season. They do eventually go, oh no, he's definitely real. He interacts with people.
As an aside to this whole police investigation thing, Kevin has time to have a mishap with dry cleaners, to fucking fail to work his security system, and have a meet cute with Nora at this dry cleaner. They are forever just the sweetest, and the sooner they get together, the better. This whole thing with the dry cleaners is very strange. He finds some of his shirts are missing. He goes to the dry cleaner despite not having taken them there himself, to his memory. They're like, nah bro, we don't have your shirts, and force him out the door pretty much. And then he just tries his luck later that day, and just very violently, well not violently, but just angrily, very raised voice, very sweary, is fucking look again. And they have them. And I don't know if this is the case, but the scene was played very much like this guy is just giving you any white shirts he can find to make you leave.
He is definitely going through and looking for white shirts, which is weird because if you look in the background of one of the shirts is a sheriff's shirt.
And that's the other thing, surely these are special shirts, and he's just...
Well, no, I think they're white shirts that he just puts a decal on or whatever. Okay. But yeah, no, he definitely goes and gets drunk.
Because they're not even together, he gives him 2 from here and 4 from there, and it's you're just giving this man some other people's white shirts, and Kevin's just taking it.
I mean, Kevin is very drunk at this point.
Yeah, Kevin likes to drink.
But then he breaks down in tears when he gets back to the house.
Yeah, so, I mean, Amy continues to try and seduce him. Sure.
I don't think she is.
She's just walking around the house. I don't know, man.
I think that's just what she sleeps in. I think that's just genuinely how she is.
That's not appropriate. Her parents, wherever they are, departed or otherwise, should be ashamed.
I also like that Kevin just kind of wanders out the house when he sees it the first time. It's literally her stood there.
Bye! So Jill finally shows some emotion in this episode. Spoilers for my little list of characters by likability. She might move up for this. So she cries when he shows up at the school to tell her about what happened, because she assumes Laurie's dead, which is very telling about her mentality. And then later on, she then goes straight back to being moody, and Amy's like, yeah, you can't win with Jill, right? But then Kevin finally is straight with her and is like, yeah, me and your mum are getting a divorce. They both say I love you to each other. And then she storms off. I guess she just can't handle this intimacy after they've been so, awkwardly cold to each other for so long. And then he just bawls his eyes out. It's very... I don't know if it's being drunk. I don't know if it's, finally just saying it out loud. But I'm glad he did, because I was getting... As annoyed as I am at her for being, the stroppy, moody teen, I also don't like it when adults or parents are just, needlessly... obfuscating towards their kids, there's no reason he shouldn't tell her some of the things he doesn't tell her.
Yeah, this is a good show of growth that they do in this episode, is that, they both acknowledge that they are still a family and stuff like that, and even though we haven't shown much affection of them previously in the series, they actually kind of, I wouldn't say they get closer, but they definitely start to rebuild whatever bridge has collapsed before.
Yeah. Because you just get the impression it's a lot of silent dinners and her giving the bare minimum of an answer to his questions.
She's doing that very stereotypical kind of childhood divorce type thing.
Yeah, but she didn't know about that until.
Well, no, but as in her mum did leave, and she knows where her mum is, and so she's reacting in that kind of way. It's I don't know why mum left.
Yeah,
Dad's still here, but Dad's gonna take the brunt of my pain.
Yeah, you get the impression this is all a big showy act, because when she was going to burned the baby Jesus and then didn't, and like her in the moment saying "I love you too," and then just being like, "Oh shit, better go slam a door or something." Like, yeah, you get the impression this is all a bit try hard, which I'm not into it, but you know, maybe we will get more good Amy scenes.
Good Amy scenes where Amy just kind of like explains what Jill's entire deal is.
Sorry, good Jill scene. I keep wanting to say that she's called Amy because that's, to me, the more likeable of the two characters. Sorry, more good Jill scenes.
Hey, Amy does get a good scene, though. What's Jill's deal?
Well, she's Jill. The crux of this episode is the murder of Gladys. So how are the GR responding to this? Well, Patty is weirdly compliant when Kevin asks her to, like, pull the GR back off the street and everything. She's just like, yeah, sure. And then Laurie has a panic attack. And so Patty takes her off and they like stay in a motel overnight or something, and they put on normal clothes and they sit in a diner, and Patty speaks to the waitress and in fact encourages Laurie to do the same. I mean, obviously Patty is the one member of the GR we've heard not counting Meg because she's a new recruit, but you know, when she arrived, Patty broke the vow in order to welcome her and was like, this is the last time you hear me talk. So, you know, it's less shocking than, like, hearing Laurie talk or someone else. But even so, it is still a bit like, oh, look at you go. And I could kind of see this is where they were maybe going with it. But, yeah, and she says how Gladys sort of was in a... She says she started to feel again and she was sort of crying a lot. And
yeah, like Gladys' son died and she got the news about it. And so she basically... She starts to feel loss in a way that's human as opposed to this... weird repression, silent smoking thing.
Yeah, because that seems to go beyond the whole this is just about the departed thing. This now seems to extend to a more general connection to humanity or whatever that they seem to be trying to forego. And it makes them less sympathetic, if that's even possible. But, you know, she basically says how she took Gladys here, and I think the way I took it is basically she gave Gladys the opportunity to talk, and she also refused. When they're in the compound and like they know they're not allowed to talk and they're going through something emotional, like all they want to do is talk. And then when they're actually afforded that opportunity, they don't take it, and then they end up coming back with their like resolve doubled. Even with Patty like telling this really like nice little thing about like it's really well played by Ann Dowd, like, you know, saying like I get it, I understand and all that essentially. Sort of just undercutting the entire message of the GR, but whatever. It does raise some more questions about when am I going to get this sort of here's the philosophy of the GR, because Kevin even says it in the episode. It's like no one fucking knows no one understands what you want, and it's like, can I please understand what they want at some point, because they're getting frustrating as well as like actively anger inducing.
I think like that scene's supposed to illustrate kind of that they are people at the end of the day. Like they are offering something, and Patty obviously knows how to deal with people. And so, like, she knows that Laurie needs this kindness, but also for it to turn into this lesson of, like, if you talk, you've failed.
Testing them. Just throwing all this emotion in her face and trying to get a response.
But she's still, like, letting her air it almost. Like, you can have your day off, you can have your diner food and French toast and bacon and eggs and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day...
We also learned from this that Laurie's been silent now for 8 months, I believe. Yeah, so I guess 2 months have passed since episode 1.
I think we started on October 14th, and I think we're now in the new year.
Yeah, exactly. So
we're like January, February.
Actually, to be honest, like I think Kevin said when they came over to give the divorce, he was like, you know, you haven't spoken to me for 6 months, so it could have even been 2 months since that episode. Anyway, yeah, and like you even get, because they're listening to music on the way, and you get a sense even that isn't a thing that they do. And while Laurie didn't take the bait of talking, and they're back in their white clothes, she has the radio on, and then Patty turns it off, and it's just very like, this is over now. We're back to... It's just like...
Yeah, like that kind of haunting, omnipresent silence.
Yes. Ugh. Fuck these people. So they go home.
You forgot the most important part of that scene.
What?
Patty shits in a bag.
I guess I wasn't looking at that point.
Yeah, she writes Neil on a bag.
Okay.
And then she takes a shit in it.
Okay.
And then they go put it on someone's doorstep. Presumably this Neil, who...
Oh, right. I guess... I have no idea what happened there, but I did not register any of that. My bad. Yeah. So, they come home. Meg's ready to join. All of that. So Matt arrives to perform a sermon for Gladys. He and Kevin were trying to get to the body so that he could say a few words. That obviously Affleck seized it, so that didn't go well.
I say fucked too.
Yes, I say fucked too. Matt's accent is hard to place. It's not very New Yorker-y, but I don't know, it's interesting.
It's not his English accent.
No, it's not. It's not a bad American accent. It just doesn't seem geographically appropriate. Anyway, yeah, he shows up on the lawn with a megaphone to sort of say some words for Gladys. And it kind of seems like a lot of the GR are they either don't know what to do, or they appreciate it, or they're trying to fight back whatever emotion. And
it's like this very open, bare humanness that they're not used to.
So Laurie heads outside. Kevin earlier on dropped off a big bucket of whistles for them to protect themselves with, because obviously they don't talk, so if they get attacked, they need to do something. She takes one of these whistles, storms outside, stands in Matt's face, and blows it until he goes away, basically. So, Meg is turning to the dark side. Just for I guess just spending time with them makes her sympathise with them or whatever, but just going from someone who seemed maybe a potential, ally of Kevin to be she's not your wife anymore. It's alright, thank you for helping with all of this. But yeah, whatever they do, it's working, because she seems like she's now going to stop talking. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, we're now on our third actress who isn't allowed to talk most episodes.
It doesn't really fit in, but Matt, when he was with Kevin, told a little story about Jesus and Thomas, and how he told him something, and when asked what he said, he was like, "Oh, I can't tell you, or you'll be stoned, and these stones will shoot fire." And it's just are you trying to tie in this whole stoning thing with what's happening to them? It seems very on the nose. And he also makes the claim that they're already dead and he wants to bring them back to life, by which I guess he means, reconnect them with their fellow human or whatever. But yeah, that's Matt's little adventure for this, and it didn't really fit anywhere else. So there you go, that's that episode. Very much defined by a very brutal execution. I wouldn't say I hate it, but it's also not one of the bangers, I don't think.
This episode feels like it's the first episode that isn't one of the kind of off-format ones that feels like it's kind of fully realised. Yeah,
it feels like a more consistent, confident show. It's very, it's executed well. It's not technically daring, but it's also, good. So, I think that incident will be very memorable for the show, but, everything else that happens in the episode, maybe not as much.
Yeah, I've been looking at how people rank this episode kind of in the midst of a season, and it kind of looks like it's middle tier, and obviously top tier are episode 3 and the episode we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah, let's talk about Guest. Aired August 3rd, 2014, directed by Carl Franklin. He did one half of that episode that got sort of redone, didn't he? Did he do the reshoots or the original?
He did the reshoots, so obviously he
must have
segued straight from that onto shooting this episode and then doing the reshoots for episode 4.
Yes. Written by Damon Lindelof and Kath Lingenfelter, who I don't believe has had a writing credit so far.
No, I do not believe so either.
Anyway, much like episode 3 worked so well because it focused entirely on Matt, we have an episode entirely devoted to Nora, which I'm all about, as she topped the rankings on the debut edition of my little character rankings based on likability. And, we started the first 2 episodes with these 2 characters not appearing very much, but it, based on the credit order and how you spoke about them, it's well, they're important. And then they get an episode devoted to each of them, so go figure. So, Nora goes about her daily business. She's shopping. She orders a prostitute, as we all do at some point. This woman shows up at her house, and Nora pays her to shoot her while she's wearing a bulletproof vest. Incredibly intense stuff. Very, very well played by Gary Coon. Seeing this gradually play out, where you're departed from her husband, maybe she has needs. Maybe she's more comfortable with a woman because she was married to a man. I don't know. And then just this reveal of, no, I want you to shoot me. And she's oh, okay. And then and it takes her a while to put the vest on as well. So you're oh, does she want you to kill her? And then, putting on the heavy metal to drown it out and everything. It's just incredibly intense opener. Very different from, the full-on execution. Although if she'd missed, it could have gone a very similar way.
Yeah, the entire opening sequence of this episode is so damn good, because you get her doing the morning shop or whatever it is, and then she buys all this stuff that's just that's a lot of very sugary cereal for a single person.
I've just got that. Sorry, go on.
And then, she just buys all this, like, just crap, and then she goes home, and then she throws out everything that she just bought, and then puts in the replacements in the thing. And she's just doing her weekly shop, even though no one's there to eat it anymore. And you just get this, like...
that benefit money, yo.
But this just heartbreaking realisation that she's still...
going about a routine.
Going about a routine, even though that the routine isn't there. And then,
she also, of course, sees the teacher that presumably her husband cheated on her with.
Yes.
If that's even true. Maybe Matt made that up. I doubt
maybe Matt. I doubt Matt did, but and then she wants to get shot, and it's like, is she just trying to feel something?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is this just an extreme? Like, is she gonna like realize what these teens are doing? Like, you bitches are not on my level. So we next see her going to get divorced from her departed husband. And on the way out, she runs into Kevin, who, would you believe it, he's here to get divorced as well. These kids. It's very interesting she's keeping the name, despite the divorce. And also...
Does she really want to be Nora Jameson?
I guess not. She's also warned by the judge that in the event the departed return, this is still binding. So while generally no one gives a shit, it seems no one gives a shit about what happened or why or whatever, there is still this sort of thing in place of like, oh, they might come back.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, like, if everyone, like 2% of the world's population disappeared randomly one day, they might just show back up.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's no bodies, and as we know from TV and film, if you don't see a body, they're not dead. So, talking to Kevin again, her being like, hey, let's go to Miami, and like, fuck your daughter. It's like, who are you, Carrie Coon? Like, you get the sense she's like a free spirit that's trapped in all this grief. I don't know, but it seems very not in keeping with the character to say something like that. But I guess this is just her, like, spiraling out of control.
Yeah, I loved her fuck your daughter. She's smiling as she says it. Kevin's got no idea how to take it, and then she realised what she said and was just like, I'm going to go now.
Well, I mean, I am also the chief of police. I'm probably not just going to go to Miami this weekend. Anyway. Her boss queries with her about how she has a 100% yes rate on a specific question on that questionnaire that we've seen her asking a couple of times now. We don't see what this question is yet, but she has to confirm that she doesn't share her past with the people she's asking. In that, she lost 3 people, which is a big fucking deal. It certainly builds...
What a conversation opener that would be. Hi, I'm here to analyse your one person missing. I lost 3 people.
So shut the fuck up with your fucking sadness, yeah. It certainly builds intrigue about what this question is. I tried to rewind and freeze frame, and it's just shot in a way where you just cannot read it. And we will find out what that is. But yes, certainly, she's special. Other people get yeses and nos on stuff all the time, but you've had a 100% yes rate. What's up with that? Anyway, she heads to this conference because Kevin turned her down on a just random trip to Miami. Heads to NYC. We see that, the protests are in full effect there. It's not just a small town thing. She attends this conference that's largely devoted to the departure and everything. She finds her badge has been claimed by someone. She does attempt to find out who by, but gives up. And she just parties with a group of frat boy assholes who are responsible for making these fake corpses that we've heard about in a previous episode. So, yeah, this is all very... I don't know, it's just a bit strange going away from the location that we've spent most of our time in and then seeing their take on it. Like, because it's New York City, obviously everyone's a little bit more aggressive. Like, just all the protesting in the streets, and like someone hands her a hand grenade. Like,
one of the guilty remnant gives her a hand grenade.
Yeah. I don't know, you kind of see everything handled a bit different. It's like a lot more extreme. But I guess that makes sense,
we've gone
it's a more densely populated area.
Yeah, we've gone from suburban New York to actual New York, and how different those two places are.
Indeed. And like the only other places we've seen are like small town America, like Texas Ranch, and I'm not entirely sure where Christina and
they started in California, and they're making their way across the country.
Oh, okay. So, you mentioned the serial earlier, and I was like, oh, I get it now. She confronts this woman who she assumes took her badge, and it turns out she didn't take her badge, but 1 year ago, Nora called her a bitch because this woman implied that her kids got departed because they eat a lot of sugared cereal or frosted cereal or whatever. a ludicrous thing to say, regardless of how she attempts to justify it. But yes,
yeah, it's one of those
why she
causation and correlation are different thing type conversations.
Exactly, yes. But that is why she continues to buy the cereal. Very astute observation, Benjamin. So, the leader of these frat boys, what is this actor's name? Billy
Magnuson.
Billy Magnuson. I just watched Game Night, which is great. Continues to be very good at being just an asshole, basically, and that is
kind of a likeable asshole.
Kind of, yeah, like an endearing, because he's kind of an idiot, but not in a harmful way. I don't know. Their little group, like, mocking the legacies, as they're called, the people that, you know, have lost people personally, and we see they get a different number of orange dots based on how many people are left, and like Nora is supposed to be one, and they don't know she is because she has a badge that says guest, hence this episode being called Guest, and they call her Guest. It's all very...
And she doesn't correct them either. She doesn't.
She just sits there and takes it. Well, yeah, she doesn't ever tell them their name, and she also just sits there and takes it as they sort of talk some trash about, like, how many more times I'm going to say I'm sorry. It's like, I mean... I think that's the first time.
I think it's the first time that she's seeing it from this point of view, though, isn't it?
Guess,
like everyone in her town knows her as the person who lost three departed, and then the only other people who she's really interacting with are people who are in contact with because the SDS or whatever it was.
Yeah. More departed people.
More
legacies.
Yeah, exactly. People who have lost people, and she can't talk about what she's lost, and everyone she knows what she's lost. So this is her first time being introduced to people who don't know that she's lost and talking openly and freely about, like, especially if you haven't lost anyone, like you can't really understand that kind of grief, that unending grief, because there is no conclusion or verification of anything.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hear her say these things shortly, but we have competition for the worst orgy in the show, as these just sort of frat boy assholes who are very, like, the people in The Big Short that don't even understand how harmful what they're doing is. Like, it reminded me of that quite a lot.
I like the look, take this drug, it's going to get certified by the FDA next year.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what drug it is. Like, if it's supposed to be medicine, like, what drug do you take that you take one pill of and you're dancing on the sofa and
if
making
you
out with
have extreme pain and need some tranquilizers? I don't know. But as part of this, Carrie Coon, respected actress, lots of theatre work. She mounts a corpse, a fake one at that, grinds on it, kisses it. What a trooper. What a trooper. Apparently Damon Lindelof just can get the most out of his actors and actresses. So, what range she shows.
It's so good because, like, she's adorably high. Like, when she recites the thing that she's been told to recite, if they ask her about the statistics, and she just kind of giggles it out and just kind of, like, spits it out there. And then the Billy Magnuson frat boy kind of brings her over to show the kind of pretend dead body that they've got back there, and it's just like, consent is really important because he does ask for permission.
He does say, "Can I kiss you?" Like, he's the good kind of douchebag.
Yeah, good kind of douchebag. It doesn't matter that he's married.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, come on, technicalities, but consent is.
Yeah, consent is important.
I mean, and maybe his wife's consent would have also been good, but hey.
And then she goes, "All right, I'll kiss you." And then, she said she ends up, like, fully making out with the corpse.
Yeah, I mean, she did,
and the entire
just
room,
not him.
Yeah, but the entire room erupts into cheers of guest.
Yeah. Important to say, this corpse is of him. Like, it's their, like, show model that I guess they attend conferences to, like, sell their service. Like, it's all very odd.
$40,000 for each one.
I know, and we saw how many of them were just lying on the road in that previous episode. So, she gets a rude awakening from hotel security, who throw her out, claiming she damaged a mirror in the bar. She tries to get back in, is of course taken into a little dark room, where she tells the story of how she's being impersonated. She says how she lost 3 people. We found out the odds of that is it 1 in 128,000?
It's something like that. It's something...
astronomically high.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued, like, up to this point, because obviously, like, we finished the night where she, like, makes out with the corpse and she's been taking drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Did you come back to this and think maybe she did break the mirror?
Yeah, because that's what's implied. Like, the guy, like, he's like, look, I believe most of what you're saying, but, like, is it possible that? And it's like, if they're about to show security footage and it's actually her that did it, it's like, oh, Nora. But no, I generally believed her that there was going to be an imposter because someone signed her name and shit. Like,
yeah, she is nice person Carrie Coon. You can't ever
So yeah, she proves her claim. They head on down to the panel. And I like the reaction of this sort of head of security. It was like, Jesus Christ, like when someone is actually sitting there at her name or whatever. So, this imposter says possibly my favourite offhand remark I've ever heard. She makes the bold claim. She's like, yeah, I'm not Nora. I've been watching you for 2 days. She claims that they burn the questionnaires, like they just immediately incinerate them in Florida, which is where that AFEC agent
it's all
was.
linked.
It's all linked. And it's like, that's fine, that's a good, honest conspiracy. But as they're dragging her away, she just says how there was a scientist who, in like 2004 or 2006 or something, was working on a plasma ray that can like get rid of all human matter, implying that the government just killed a bunch of people with this magic laser, and then they're paying people off to keep quiet. Like, what the fuck is this show? It's great though. I do like a good, honest, like, it's all a lie type story.
Yeah. As you go along the show, they start to pepper in these little just insane.
Well, yeah.
theories.
I mean, if no one's going to talk about it, I want some just wild shit to get said. Like, oh yeah, don't you know, man? Like, gorillas came and just took everyone to the jungle or something.
Just you wait until the episode where we're going to have to translate French.
Oh, I used to be able to read it. I don't know if I've ever been fluent in speaking it.
Anyway, we're a few weeks away from that one.
Good, great. So Nora, triumphantly drinking alone in a bar afterwards, she meets this author who lost 4 people, so he's one better than her. And he wrote... well, he's many worse than her. He wrote this book about sort of how to cope with it. And while he's sort of sharing his story about how his daughter learned to laugh again, and should she feel guilty, and, you know, the hope in the eyes of a child, she basically calls him a fraud, and he hurriedly leaves, which kind of, to me, sort of suggests that she's right, and that he is sort of making it up, or it seems that that's the way it's going.
Again, at the end of the day, he had someone who he could still hold on to.
Mm. Yeah, and she
like,
says, you know, your parents are in the 70s, and like you've still got a daughter or whatever. Like,
yeah, like if you lost your 2 parents, your wife and your other child, presumably, like that's still not as bad as me. I lost everyone in my family.
What a terrible competition!
I know, and like even when you think like we know that she still has Matt,
but they don't get on.
Yeah, like that's not a functional relationship. That's. No. Matt has his own shit with his wife and with his vendetta against anyone who was departed, which obviously clashes with her.
Yeah. And while she greets him warmly and, like, you shouldn't shoot a messenger, the things he says kind of break that relationship, I get a feeling. But because he also calls her and she doesn't respond in this episode, I believe. So she's confronted by a very creepy stranger, and apparently she's more of an idiot than I realised, because she follows him up to some random apartment.
Tom Noonan.
Where a dude on a laptop is like, so have you got a PayPal account? And basically they charge her $1,000 for the truth about this author. You know, he opens with like, do you want to feel this way? And she's like, yeah, fuck off. And then he sort of seems to confirm, yeah, this guy's a fraud. And she pays the money because she's just too rich not to, because of the benefit. And he takes her behind a curtain. Again, why is she not running the fuck away? Especially because behind that curtain is Holy Wayne.
Was that who you were expecting to see in this episode?
No, not at all. That was quite a surprise. I love that he doesn't remember the author. He's like, what? Oh, yeah, I guess. It's just like... I love how he's simultaneously super... Yeah, I didn't read it. I like how he's simultaneously super into his message and then super apathetic about almost everything else. Yeah, it was quite a shock. I'm glad to see him. I think he's great. I'd like to see more of him. But we kind of get another... Like, we sort of get an unbroken exhibit of what he does, in a way. Because we saw that guy pay to go see him. We saw him try and hug Tom. We've heard people talk about how he takes people's pain. And here we see he's basically really mean to her for a couple of minutes. And then throws in some sort of faux philosophy. And he name drops that he's seen his death and it's coming soon, so she hasn't got long to do this. Which, you know, he's not credited often. Or at all, I don't think, in the opening title. So I guess he's going to die soon.
He's the lead guest actor at the end of the credits.
Yeah. So maybe I won't get to see more of him. But he says all this stuff and then hugs her as she weeps. And she genuinely seems better after that. And, like, Kevin asks her out. And she says yes. And she does her questionnaire again. And she gets a no, and we find out that question is, do you believe they're in a better place? So I'm still on my sort of theory that, maybe, because I phrased it as like, it's a Native American thing, a sin eater. I guess this is a concept that probably crosses into various religions where, like, one person can sort of absorb your pain, your sin, your guilt, your whatever. So I feel he thinks he's one of these. I genuinely, I don't think he's scamming people.
He doesn't seem to be storing the pain, though, does he?
No, I guess he's... Well, this is the thing. The way this scene plays out, it seems that this isn't actually presented as any kind of magical gift as much as just he knows the right things to say, and then he's there for them for the hug when they start crying, and just that catharsis eases the burden. But, like...
Yeah, we don't see, like, we don't know if Nora's actually, like, had this kind of human contact with anyone.
But that seems weird. Surely someone has... He can't be the only poignant person left in America. I know he's British, but come on.
But, I mean, you've got the idea that maybe people are all kind of broken by this thing. And whilst he's taking advantage of it, he's taking advantage of it in a maybe nice way. I mean, obviously, he's a paedophile who only has sex with Asian girls.
Of course.
He is kind of helping people. And you see, like, because Carrie Coon does some really good cry acting.
She does. Difficult to do. He talks about how she won't let her grief kill her. She won't kill herself. It's difficult to feel hopeful and to connect to humanity, but she's deserving of hope. And I think he says, isn't it better to be an alive dog than a dead lion? And it's like, are you calling her a bitch, man? Like, what's this? What's happening here? But she seems changed for it, and I guess just that.
Yeah, like
I guess it's Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. I don't know, but
you get this implication that even subconsciously she was projecting her grief onto these people she was questioning.
Yeah, exactly, because she gets that first no when she seems to have let go of her grief on some level. I don't know if she's still going to pay people to try and shoot her, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, overall, another great episode. I think not quite as good as the Matt one, but given she's my favourite character, because that worked so well the last time, I think doing it again works. I don't know how many more times they can go to this well of like doing an entire character episode, but I think we're 2 for 2 so far in quality. It probably helps that those two are two of the best actors in the show, so go figure. They can carry that load, but Carrie Coon. But yeah, I like this one, and you couple that with the episode before it, not being like a banger, but just this show in general now I'm more at peace with, I guess, because I was sort of a bit disgruntled.
It's figured out its identity.
Yeah, let's say that. That's a much better way of phrasing that. So I am no longer sort of begrudgingly watching these, waiting for it to get better. I think I'm just genuinely interested in this show now. So you have your wish, Ben. I think I like The Leftovers.
Excellent.
Speaking of liking things, my character rankings. Again, would you like me to go top to bottom or bottom to top?
Let's go bottom to top. Okay.
In at 13, I've actually bothered to count how many people there are this time instead of just rounding to 10. Tom, no update. Just, there's nothing that has made him worse. Just other people have moved up the ranking. Christine at 12. Again, I mean,
he's literally not in these two episodes,
exactly.
So he's done nothing to improve or unimprove his position.
Exactly. And again, I put Christine above Tom because I kind of give Christine a pass on that. It just seems that she's sort of too deep in it. Like, it sounds mean, but she doesn't know any better. And I feel he's a smart kid who should just get the fuck out of there, and he isn't. So to me, that's more annoying than her sort of devoutness to this fucking paedophilic cult where she's pregnant and talking to strangers too much. In at number 11, Meg. Just continue to ask why. It's going to be tied in with the GR and the fact that she just isn't as good as an actress as the other GR members that are more prominent. So, yeah, she's staying there until I get some solid motivation out of her. And just her sort of committing further means I like her less. So, and at number 10, shockingly, Dean. Despite all this dog shooting, at least he isn't, like, actively stupid. He seems a not pleasant man, but I believe the three below him are just dumb. So he has problematic beliefs, but for some reason I guess I like him more than those three. Laurie, number 9, still kind of a hypocrite, but I mean she sort of redoubled her faith, I guess, on this little trip. I can't really remember where I had her before, but she's anyone in the GR is going to float sort of in that region. Jill would be my number 8. Still kind of
she's climbed a long way. She's gone from being the worst
from the worst. So Yeah, I mean, still a little bit too much door slamming, but she cried and she said I love you to her dad, so that earns some points. The twins, too neutral at number 7. Like, they are neither good nor bad. They sit in the middle of this list. If some of these characters weren't just complete dicks, then they'd probably be at the bottom for just being so bland, but they're there. Patty is number 6. Hearing it phrased as, like, this is all a test makes me want to move her back down again, but just for a moment it's like, she gets it. Like, she understands humans, and, like, she's reaching out and being emotional, and she's talking, and just because Anne Dowd is such a good actress, I moved her up quite a bit, but she may move back down, because it is a likability list, so... Yeah. Kevin has dropped to number 5. His attempts to be nice to the GR in spite of everything are somewhat endearing. Him finally being straight with Jill is nice. Still, he killed some dogs. And
you're not going to let this one go, are you?
Never, literally never. He will never touch number 1 unless Nora just goes, I murdered children! Also, not cool with the dry cleaner dude. Like, his continued drunken antics are worrying. Matt rises to number 4. No real update. Like, his true colours still kind of not a good person, in my opinion, but, I mean, he was nice in his appearance, I guess. So, other characters dipped, some characters rose. He just by default rises a bit there. Amy slips to number 3, still crushing hard on Kevin, which is fair. Not really much doing though. I don't know, maybe she should have retained her number 2 spot. I'm shocked at myself because I've moved the mayor up to number 2 because she supported Kevin in the curfew.
What is the mayor's name?
I don't know. She's the mayor, so until I learn otherwise, not from you by saying it right now, but just from the show, knowing it, she will be called the mayor. Yeah, she was in favour with Kevin. She, like, bitch-slapped down that sort of mutinying detective. But then she did sort of undercut Matt a bit. Like, she's twice now sort of thrown him to the wolves and gotten him to try and do public speaking, which he doesn't seem good at, but...
No, Kevin is definitely not good at public speaking.
I'm sort of awaiting her big reveal that she's a super horrible person, but for now, she enjoys the number 2 ranking. And Nora reigns supreme at number 1. She does fuck with people. She apparently throws around her status as a legacy person, but she's still just ultimately a very nice person. Like, even when she's just crazy high, she can't even be, like, a bad person there. Like, I mean, yeah, it's fucked up. She grinded on a dummy that's sort of a corpse, but still, we've all been there. Like,
she gets to have, like, one a-moment episode with Kevin, which is, like, super adorable.
Yeah, that will always help. That helps Kevin, to be honest. Like, his involvement in that.
Yeah, like, even at this stage, you can just see how much chemistry those two have together.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Like, I'm kind of sad that I already know something must happen with them, because, I mean... The front cover of Series 3 is just them together, but it's nice to watch this little will they, won't they? Yeah, and I don't actually know how it goes, it's just that is heavily suggestive.
That is the issue with watching the series after it's finished, is that you see the covers and you can tell that Nora pivots kind of into second lead position.
Well, I'm all for it, because she's fucking great. So there you go, there's my likability. I'm sure some of that might have been a bit surprising to you.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you've got the mayor that high.
Yeah, I am a bit as well, because I was like, I don't like you after the first few, but I was just sitting there looking at it. I was like, you suck, you're dumb, you're awful, you kill dogs. Fuck it, the mayor's number 2 by default.
How many shows do you watch? Could you say that there are 2 regular characters who murder dogs?
None, because most TV isn't this awful.
Well, that's a lie. You watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Well, he got his. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Didn't Jamie kill a dog? Didn't Jamie kill one of the direwolves? Or was it the Hound?
Jamie didn't kill a direwolf, no.
Who killed Lady?
Oh, wait. Lady was, I think, like the Stark Butcher or whatever, or something like that. Or like the
spoilers for another HBO show.
Yeah. Oh.
I think that's where Damon Lindelof got his ideas from.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, you want to see a violent death? Watch this shit." Anyway, another 2 episodes, and soon I'll be able to actually finish watching that episode I started watching by accident.
I know.
It was good, the first 5 minutes, but that is not next time, but the one after. In the meantime, go to entertherealworld.com. Check out everything that is there. By the time you hear this, me and Mike Thomas will have reviewed all of Legion, because I'm recording that tomorrow night. Legion Series 2, that is. And keep listening to us. Another episode of Countdown to Destruction next time.